All right, let's talk about turning a truckload of wood chips into hundreds of pounds of free food. Come join me in the chaos. Last year I got the idea to inoculate this pile, which means that I introduce, I inoculated it with mycelium, so that means I introduce some mycelium, the stuff that makes mushrooms, it's like white threads that sometimes you see in mulch, to this area. And it's now ran through this entire area, and so look at this. Like it just flushed about 2 weeks ago, and I probably harvested, I don't know, maybe 10 pounds of mushrooms, and then it flushed again, and probably about 40 pounds of mushrooms, and I gave them all to my neighbor because I wasn't ready for more mushrooms. And then I just came out today, it just rained, and they're coming up everywhere. You zoom out, you can't really see, but when you get closer, you see they're just literally, it's like Smurf Village over here. How's that song go? Bum, bum, ba-dum, bum, bum. I'm not a singer, but I should have one of my kids sing that. That'd be hilarious. So if you've ever seen Smurfs, or whatever it's called, Smurf Village, Smurfs, the Smurfs, I think they're green or blue or something. But yeah, these are all wine caps. Stropharia, Rugoso, annulata. And these ones are perfectly edible. This is what they look like when they get a little older. And you can know they're wine caps, even though they're not the same color anymore. If you pick them out of the ground, there's like a little annulus around here. And then they'll have like a brownish, black, purplish, almost spore print. But they start looking kind of funky when they age a little bit. But they've literally taken over this entire area. And it's occurring to me now, the reason that they fruit around the edges, you can see that one, they get all cracky too. I think something's eating them, probably like slugs or something, snacking on the caps. So if you want them to look pretty like this, you got to come out when they first pop up and harvest them before the critters start munching on them. Once they start going, you'll see like roly-polies and things eating them, and that's just because they're starting to go bad, and the roly-polies are just taking the opportunity to get free food. But yeah, free wood chips you can get from your local city. Add a little mycelium and you'll get tons of free food. And you don't even have to go out and buy it. I mean, you can literally just dig down in the area where you're seeing the mushrooms. Let me see if I can do this without stomping on them, because I'm about to take some of these in and make some food. You just kind of dig down. See right here? And this mat is probably about half a foot thick, and it goes over this entire area. So I probably have, I don't know, a couple thousand pounds of mycelium that I could sell. I put a little ad online. So if you're in my area, you might see my ad selling wine cap mycelium. It's good to get it local, just because it becomes adapted to your local area. So I would highly recommend, if you have land, if you have space for wood chips, and even if you're using the wood chips for gardening and things like I am, it's still good to have some mycelium in there. Helps it to break down a little faster, and then you get some free food out of it on the side. It's always nice to get free food from stuff that you wouldn't normally eat. I don't think most people eat wood chips. I don't think you can eat wood chips, actually. That'd probably be a bad idea. Don't eat wood chips. But lots of free food you could get from your wood chips. So I hope that gives you some ideas on how you can yield some food from your own land. And there's a little preview of what my harvest might look like. I just kind of pop the caps off on the ones that I want. The ones that are really small, I'll let go a little longer. But once they get about, I don't know, how big is that? Silver dollar, maybe a little bigger than a silver dollar. Because they'll get humongous. Like if you like them when they're a half a foot wide, you can get them when they're that big. I don't really like the taste of the stem. Whoops, I just broke that one. I don't really like the taste and texture of the stem, so I just leave them in the ground, but you can eat those too. Perfectly viable for eating. But I like the caps when they're about this size, up to about that size right there. Anything larger than that, and the flavor actually changes. I tried making a soup with some of the big ones like this, and the soup just tasted off. I just didn't like the way it tasted. It just tasted like just bad mushrooms, and they could have just been passed. And you can kind of see the remnant of this. What's this annulus right here? Once you get used to the smell and the taste of these, it's very obvious they're wine caps. I know a lot of people get really self-conscious, and rightfully so, about mushrooms. You eat the wrong ones and you're dead. So definitely make sure you know what you're doing. Don't just go out and, oh, this looks like that one on that video that dude had. Let's eat it. Yeah, don't do that. Make sure you know what you're doing. So something that I do is I just try to learn one mushroom at a time. Just become very familiar with one mushroom. Learn what it tastes like. You shouldn't eat these raw, like in large quantities, just because they have a lot of what's called chitin, which is actually what lobster shells and things like that are made out of. Because it acts like a fiber in your intestines. So if you eat too much of it, your intestines kind of freak out. So you don't want to eat too much of it, especially if it's not cooked. But once you get used to it, your body can handle it a lot better. And then, of course, cooking it actually breaks open the cell walls and allows those nutrients to become accessible. But when they're raw, it's really hard for your body to open them up and get the nutrients out of the cells. And so you just end up, most of the mushroom just comes out your other end, which sounds disgusting, but that's the reason it doesn't feel very good inside you if you don't cook them. So this is one you want to cook. Again, it's not poisonous if you don't cook it. Poisonous if you don't cook it, but some people will have gastric problems if they eat them raw. I've eaten them raw and I haven't had any problems. But online, there's that disclaimer, so don't eat those raw if you're not used to eating them raw. You should probably cook all mushrooms, mainly because it might not even be the mushroom itself that makes you sick. There might be other things on the mushrooms, bacteria, things like that just live on that mushroom that you're eating, and then you get sick from that. So always cook them. And I like the caps. Thanks for joining me in the chaos.